Dawn is copper over the scrub when Isaiah Cole starts his round. Hammer at his belt, boots wet with dew, he checks the sticking east gate and listens to the solar pump cough. 200 head, one hinge, a list in his head. Isaiah tips his hat toward the only tree his father planted. On the porch, Naomi raises a mug. Caleb's laugh rings from the pens. Then dust draws a hard line across County Road 14. Isaiah stops. Dust that marches is not normal. He counts trucks, then riders. Chrome winks. A rifle glints. The dogs rise and growl. Naomi's smile fades. She has the shotgun by the time he hits the porch steps. Inside, Isaiah says. No panic, just the tone they practiced. Naomi pulls Caleb in. Crawl space, reinforced pantry, water, radio. The house is small and ready. Engines snarl into the yard. The first truck holds 3 men with scarves at their throats. The second drags a gate chain that sparks across gravel. Riders fan wide. A beer bottle explodes on the packed earth. Isaiah steps off the porch, plants his boots, hands open. This is a family place, he says. If you're after something, say it. You don't need to come in guns up. They laugh. One spits chew, another washes the porch windows with a lazy scope. A man in a canvas coat climbs from the first truck. He smiles without showing teeth. We're looking for a ledger, he says. Black book, banker's lies. Word says it's here. We keep feet in calf weights, Isaiah says. Nothing you want. Word says different. Above the pantry, Naomi slides shells. Through the floor vent, Isaiah hears Caleb's quick breathing. He keeps his hands open. He does not beg. He avoids war. But the men have parked on the only way out. Turn around, he says. We can speak on the porch, no guns. Or you can roll. That's the menu. The coat man flicks 2 fingers. A rider bites the east fence with bolt cutters. Cattle shove and moan. Another flick. A rag-wrapped bottle arcs toward the barn, shatters, licks flame up the winter hay. Isaiah moves before the heat blooms. He yanks the burning rag free with a pitchfork, flings sand, drags the hose, curses when the pump coughs at the wrong second. The dogs bark hoarse. Men ring the yard like crows. Over the clamor, fresh motorcycles wind up the road. The gang parts with a hush that looks like respect. 2 by 2, the bikes roll in. Their leader sits straight on a black machine. He kills the engine. He lifts his helmet. Isaiah feels the world tilt inside his ribs. It is a face he knows the way he knows the ridgeline. Scar under the left eye from a fall off the creek bridge. A mouth built for jokes. Eyes older, jaw leaner, but the same. Zeke, he says. His brother gives the old slanted smile and counts the men with a quick glance. Morning, Ike, he says, voice sanded by miles. You look good. Ranch looks good. Isaiah hasn't heard that nickname in 10 years. Then heat presses back. The ledger. The men. Smoke gnawing the barn wall. You're leading them, Isaiah says. Zeke raises a hand, palm out. We need the book. You hand it over, nobody bleeds. You have my word. I don't swap my word on strangers' terms, Isaiah says. And I don't take your word while your boys light my hay. Something like apology moves behind Zeke's eyes. You always like the hard way, he says, and his riders spread. A shot snaps the morning. Splinters jump from the porch rail. Isaiah drops behind the water trough and feels the ranch shift from work to war. Dogs streak low. Naomi pulls Caleb deeper. The pump catches and the hose kicks in his hands. Isaiah breathes once. He means to put out fire. He means to hold ground. Mostly, he means to learn why his brother brought a war to his door for a banker's book and what it will cost to send it away. He keeps his eyes on Zeke, steady. Smoke still crawls along the barn wall when the engines choke down to idle. Men fan across the yard with rifles low but ready. Zeke stays astride his black motorcycle, eyes following Isaiah as he steps out from the trough, water and grit dripping off his sleeves. Talk fast, Zeke says, voice carrying over the engines, before someone gets nervous with a trigger. Isaiah studies the ring of men. 20, maybe 25. Riders with pistols shoved into belts. 2 trucks squatting heavy with fuel barrels and chains. His cattle herd drifts to the far fence, restless and snorting. Naomi's face flashes at the window. Eyes on him, shotgun beside her shoulder. You brought war for paper? Isaiah says. What's in this book that turns brother on brother? Names, Zeke says. Debts. Crooked land deals run through Banker Sutter. Half this county's bleeding while he counts gold. I mean to make it stop. Isaiah almost laughs. Almost. And you need my place burned to prove your point? Zeke leans on the handlebars, metal groaning. Word says Sutter stored a ledger here when he thought your barn safer than his bank. He thought wrong. Now I need it. The name Sutter rakes through Isaiah's memory. Banker with cold hands and colder eyes. The one who called in loans during droughts. Who took land when calves died in spring floods. Isaiah remembers Sutter visiting once, box under his arm, asking for storage while the bank roof was fixed. He'd forgotten it until now. You think I open my doors because men with masks ask nice? Isaiah says. You think scaring my boy makes me your partner? Zeke's jaw tightens. Ike, I didn't ride in to hurt family. I rode in so Sutter's day ends. You hand me the book, we ride out, and this place stays whole. One rider, lean with a scar like lightning across his throat, spits in the dirt. Talk wastes daylight, he says, lifting his rifle halfway. Zeke snaps. Rafe, you lower that iron or I break your arm. The rifle sinks, slow and sour. Isaiah marks the name, Rafe, trouble coiled under skin. Isaiah steps closer, boots crunching glass from the bottle fire. He keeps his hands clear, voice level. Say I have this ledger. Say I give it. You burn Sutter with it? Then what? Another gang runs his place? Another brother turns outlaw? Zeke swings off the bike. Dust lifts around his boots. I walk away, he says. Head south, no more banks, no more guns. Just this one thing finished. Naomi pushes the door open then, shotgun cradled but ready. And if the book's not here, she says, you tear the roof off to check? Zeke meets her eyes, something soft flickering. Then we shake hands and ride empty. But I got to see first. Isaiah hears Caleb shifting in the crawl space. The boy has his mother's eyes, wide, sharp, scared but steady. This ranch is his world. Isaiah feels the weight of every nail, every fence post, every calf born under storm roofs. He won't trade it on threats. No guns inside, Isaiah says finally. You come in with weapons down, you look where I say, and you leave when it's done. One lie, one spark. He lets the words hang like wire. Zeke lifts a hand to his men. Stand down, he orders. Engines click off. Safeties snap. Some scowls, some shrugs, but rifles tilt toward dirt. Even Rafe obeys, mouth twisted like he bit a nail. Naomi doesn't lower her shotgun. Neither does Isaiah. Zeke steps forward alone. His boots hit the porch wood they built as boys, the same boards where they played cards summers before the war took him west. He glances once toward the cottonwood tree where their father's name is carved, then pushes through the door Isaiah holds. Inside smells of pine soap and smoke. Zeke pauses by family pictures, Naomi with Caleb, Isaiah with a calf roped in the snow. 10 years gone, and the walls carry on like he never left. You sure about this? Naomi whispers to Isaiah as Zeke moves toward the pantry. No, Isaiah says. His eyes never leave his brother's back. But I'm sure about him needing to see what fire he started. Outside, the men wait with twitching fingers. Rafe's eyes cut toward the barn like a wolf sizing gates. Engines tick cooling metal. The herd bunches tighter at the fence, and Isaiah knows something won't hold. Whether wood or word or blood, before sun sets, something will give way. The pantry door stands open, light falling across shelves of beans, flour, and sealed jars. Zeke crouches low, eyes scanning corners, boots silent on wood he once helped sand smooth. Isaiah watches him move, jaw tight, memories mixing with the heat creeping from the barn wall outside. Naomi keeps the shotgun up. Caleb stays hidden, though Isaiah can feel the boy's breath in the crawlspace floor vent. The house air carries that thick smell, hay and smoke drifting closer. You find your treasure? Isaiah asks. Zeke shakes his head, opens another cupboard. Ledger's not here, he mutters. Before Isaiah can answer, a shout rips the yard. Fire's climbing, someone yells. Zeke straightens, eyes cutting to the window. Isaiah sees the glow across his brother's face, orange licking the barn roof. The first bottle they threw hadn't died like he thought. Isaiah bolts outside. Heat slaps him as he rounds the corner. Flames crawl the loft wall, smoke pouring from the hay door like angry ghosts. The cattle ball, pressing fences. Sparks ride the wind toward the house roof. Water! Isaiah yells. One gang truck carries barrels. A rider named Hawk jumps down, drags a hose toward the pump, cursing when it sputters. Another man yanks a tin pail off a fence post, filling it from the trough. Even Naomi, gun still in hand, drags the garden line across the yard. Zeke shouts orders to his men, voice cutting through engine clatter. "Rafe, get the doors open before the roof goes!" Rafe sneers but obeys, boots slamming the barn doors wide. Cattle surge, eyes rolling white, but the smoke keeps them penned. Heat builds like a forge. Dry hay explodes upward with a whump that rocks the yard. Isaiah climbs the fence, scrambles to the loft ladder through fire stink and grit. He hauls himself up, soaks his shirt in a barrel at the window, slaps it across flaming bales. Steam screams. His arms sting where sparks kiss skin. Below, Zeke drives riders with curses. Lines form. Pails, barrels, anything holding water. Isaiah sees Hawk heaving buckets shoulder to shoulder with Naomi like war forgot sides for one moment, but not all hands work. Near the trucks, Rafe watches the blaze with a grin. Too slow fetching water, too quick scanning the house door. Isaiah sees it even through smoke. Rafe's eyes on Naomi, on Caleb if the boy shows himself. Trouble walks in that man's boots. "More water!" Isaiah bellows, choking on heat. "We lose this roof, we lose the herd." Zeke mounts the ladder halfway, face blackened, hand shoving another bucket up. "Ledger's not worth ash," he roars. Together they smother bales until the worst flames sag to smoke. Isaiah hauls a charred beam free before it falls, shoulders shaking. One last hiss, one last cough of steam, and the loft holds. Barely. The barn stands, scorched but breathing. Men drop buckets, panting. Horses rear at the smell. Someone spits black phlegm into the dirt. Isaiah climbs down slow, legs trembling. Zeke meets him at the bottom, both streaked with soot like coal miners. "That ledger better be worth it," Isaiah says, voice raw. Zeke wipes his mouth with the back of his hand. "If it buries Sutter, it's worth every flame." "Then maybe bury Sutter somewhere else," Isaiah snaps. "Before your men burn the only place keeping this county fed." Zeke's jaw works, but he doesn't answer. Behind him, Rafe leans on a fence post, mouth curved like smoke carried a joke only he heard. Naomi herds Caleb out now that the fire's down, her arm tight around the boy's shoulders. He stares wide-eyed at riders, at guns, at his father's burned sleeves. Zeke steps closer, eyes on the child. Something flickers there. Regret maybe, or memory of a boyhood before outlaw roads. "We need that book," Zeke says again, quieter. Before Rafe decides fire wasn't enough. Isaiah follows his glance. Rafe spits, smiles sharp. Trouble waiting its turn. The sun climbs higher, burning smoke off the yard. The barn creaks, wounded but standing. And Isaiah knows the fight hasn't left, just changed shape. By noon the smoke has thinned, leaving the yard stinking of wet ash and singed wood. The barn stands black-scarred but alive. Isaiah leans against the trough, arms streaked with soot, shirt clinging damp. Naomi tends Caleb's scraped knee on the porch steps, her eyes never far from the men still scattered across the yard. Zeke walks through them like a man weighing each face. Some riders avoid his look, others meet it steady, but one leans too casual against a fence post. Rafe Doyle, scar down his throat, eyes sharp as broken glass. He chews a splinter, watching Naomi more than he should. Isaiah sees it. He files it away. "You brought fire for a banker's secrets," Isaiah says finally. "Time you tell me why." Zeke stops by the cottonwood tree, hand resting on its rough bark. "Sutter keeps a ledger," he says. "Names, payoffs, land swaps done in the dark. Half the county owes money to him one way or another. Sheriff's boys, judge in Dry Creek, even the preacher. He writes it all down because he thinks no one dares touch him." "And you plan to?" Isaiah asks. Zeke nods once. Ledger hits daylight, Sutter's empire cracks. Folks see who sold them out. Maybe they finally stop bowing when he walks the street. Isaiah wipes sweat and soot from his face. "And you think he left it here?" "He did," Zeke says. 6 months back, Sutter hired me for muscle on a gold shipment. He bragged after too much whiskey, said he'd stashed the book on neutral ground till his bank safe was fixed. Described this place, the barn, the tree, even that pump handle with the crooked bolt. "He was here, Ike." Isaiah remembers now. Sutter stepping from a buggy one rainy evening, box under his arm, asking to leave it a spell while the bank roof leaked. Isaiah had pointed him to the loft, thinking it feed records or tax papers. Sutter fetched it next day, or so he claimed. Isaiah never checked. You think he lied? Isaiah says. Zeke nods again. Rafe spits splinters into the dirt. Talking's a long road to nowhere, he calls. Books here or it ain't. We start turning boards till we find it. Zeke shoots him a look. You turn nothing without my word. Your word burns easy, Rafe says, grin thin. Isaiah files that too. Trouble thick as smoke around this man. Naomi steps forward then, shotgun across her arm. Even if the book's here, she says, Sutter won't sit quiet while you wave it in town. He'll bring law, maybe soldiers from the fort. Let him, Zeke says. Truth's heavier than his pockets. Isaiah watches his brother's face. 10 years gone, riding outlaw roads, and now talking justice like a preacher. Maybe he means it, maybe not. Hard to weigh a man carrying both gospel and gunpowder in the same breath. Zeke looks toward the barn, jaw set. We check the loft proper, he says. Every beam, every board. If it's here, we ride before sundown. If not, we take nothing but dust and go. Rafe grins wider. Or we take what else we find. His eyes flick Naomi's way again. Zeke's head snaps around. You touch nothing that breathes, he says, voice low but cutting. Some riders shift, uneasy. Hawk, the big one who hauled water fastest, squares his shoulders like he'd stand with Zeke if lines got drawn. Isaiah notes that too. They move toward the barn together. Ike, Zeke, 2 riders chosen to lift boards while others stay back. Rafe follows slow, hands loose near his rifle though no order called him. Inside, sunlight spears through smoke holes in the roof. The loft floor creaks under boots as they pry loose planks, dust rising in lazy ghosts. Isaiah watches each board come up empty, just nails, straw, a lost horseshoe, spiderwebs thick as gloves. No ledger. Zeke swears under his breath. Rafe smiles like he expected that. Isaiah leans on a beam, heat crawling back as afternoon settles heavy. Somewhere outside, a calf bawls for its dam. The world feels paused, waiting. Zeke kicks one last board aside. Then Sutter lied, he says. Book's not here. Rafe's grin turns slow. Or someone already has it, he says. Someone close. His eyes cut toward Isaiah, then Naomi. And the air shifts, sharp as before a storm. By late afternoon, the heat leans heavy on the yard. The barn stands open, loft floor torn like missing teeth where boards were pried loose. Smoke ghosts drift from blackened hay, thin now but bitter. The men wait restless, some drinking from canteens, some pacing near the fence line. Zeke stands by the cottonwood tree, arms crossed, eyes fixed on nothing. Isaiah watches from the porch, shoulders stiff. Between them lies a yard full of tension. Guns, sweat, ash, and questions still smoking like the rafters. No ledger, no proof. Rafe leans on a water barrel, grin sharp as barbed wire. He hasn't stopped smiling since the search turned up dust. Isaiah doesn't like it. Neither does Hawk, the big rider who helped haul water to the fire. He keeps his distance from Rafe now, jaw working slow like a bull sizing another before the charge. Naomi sets coffee on the porch rail, though her shotgun stays close. Caleb sits on the step below, eyes too old for his age after this day. He keeps stealing glances at Zeke, the uncle he didn't know existed this morning. Finally, Isaiah steps off the porch. We talk, he says toward the tree. Zeke turns, face unreadable. So talk. Isaiah stops halfway, boots in the ash-dusted dirt. Ledger's not here. Maybe never was. You want Sutter's blood, fine, but this ranch isn't your battlefield. Zeke studies him like weighing iron. When Sutter falls, this whole county breathes different. You think he leaves your land alone when he owns half the water rights upstream? He'll come for you slow, not fast like me. Paper chains cut deeper than bullets. Isaiah hears truth there, but truth carried by men with guns still feels like threat. Then we take this to town, Isaiah says. Talk to the sheriff, the judge. Zeke barks a laugh, hard and short. Sheriff Kane, Judge Deaton, they drink from Sutter's hand. That ledger shows names bought twice over. No court cleans its own boots. The sun slides low, light going copper across the yard. Men glance skyward like shadows carry weight. Evening makes tempers short. Isaiah breathes slow. You rode in ready to burn for this book. Now it's smoke. What's next, Zeke? You ride out? Or you tear this place apart looking again? Rafe pushes off the barrel before Zeke answers. We ride nowhere till we know, he says. Book's close. Maybe our host keeps it quiet. His grin hooks toward Naomi on the porch. People hide things for family. Zeke's head snaps around. You watch your mouth. Just saying, Rafe shrugs, voice oily. Man leaves 10 years, comes back loud. Maybe someone here learned to lock doors. Isaiah steps closer, heat in his chest. You calling me a liar? Rafe spreads his hands, mock easy. I'm calling this whole day a waste unless we press harder. Hawk moves then, slow but big, planting himself between Rafe and the porch. We press wrong, folks, he rumbles. We press the boss first. His eyes cut to Zeke. Silence drops like a hammer. Zeke finally lifts a hand. Enough! His voice slices through the yard. No one lifts a board, no one breathes wrong till I say. Rafe smiles thin but steps back. Hawk stays where he is, arms crossed. Lines drawn now, clear as fence posts. Zeke turns to Isaiah. We camp here tonight, he says. At dawn we ride to Sutter's place. If he's got the ledger, we take it from his safe with or without his blessing. Isaiah shakes his head. You drag this war straight into town. Into truth, Zeke says. You want him stopped? Tomorrow's the cut. Naomi speaks for the first time in minutes. And if Sutter brings law down on all of you? Zeke glances at the riders, at the guns stacked by the fence. Then law learns who it serves. Evening wind lifts ash across the yard like gray snow. The men settle near the barn, some building a small fire, others checking rifles. Hawk keeps watch on Rafe, who keeps watching Naomi's porch light glow against the dark. Isaiah feels the ground tilting toward something none of them can stop. Dawn drags pale light across the ranch yard. The fire ring still smolders where outlaws brewed coffee through the night, rifles stacked like a crooked fence nearby. Horses stamp and snort, ready for whatever ride comes next. Isaiah steps from the porch, shoulders stiff, eyes scanning the men sprawled on bedrolls. Some snore heavy, some sit cleaning guns with slow, mean care. Hawk leans against the water trough, arms crossed, gaze locked on Rafe, who grins at nothing like a man with cards hidden close. Zeke sits on the tailgate of a truck, hat low, sipping tin cup coffee. He watches his brother approach. We ride soon, Zeke says. Isaiah nods, jaw tight. And after? Ledger or no ledger, you bring war to Sutter, he brings it back double. Zeke sets the cup aside. Sutter's had this county by the throat 10 years. Ledger cracks his grip. We pull it, the folks see the names, deals, bribes, they turn on him before his men can load rifles. Isaiah studies him. That faith in people talking loud for an outlaw. Zeke's mouth pulls thin. I didn't ride this road to stay on it forever. Before Isaiah can answer, Naomi steps out carrying bread wrapped in cloth. Caleb trails close, eyes flicking toward the gang like shadows might leap. Naomi sets the bread on the porch rail, shotgun never far from reach. Rafe watches her every move. Hawk shifts his weight, big shoulders angling to block the line of sight. He hasn't spoken since last night, but his silence feels like a wall built for purpose. Zeke stands. Mount up, he calls. Men rise, stretch, check weapons. Engines cough to life. Horses toss heads against morning chill. The smell of gas, sweat, and dust mixes thick. Isaiah steps in front of Zeke before he swings onto the bike. You find this ledger, Isaiah says. You wave it in town, law comes fast. Sutter's got pockets deep enough to fill half the jail cells with deputies. Zeke meets his eyes. Then we hold the truth high enough no cell fits around it. Isaiah shakes his head. 10 years gone, and his brother talks like some prophet riding steel and fire. They roll out 2 by 2, bikes leading, trucks grinding behind, riders on horses flanking the line. Isaiah rides his own mare, staying near the front where Zeke cuts dust ahead. Hawk rides left, eyes never leaving Rafe on the right. The county road unwinds toward Dry Creek, sun climbing behind them. Mesquite throws short shadows across sand flats. Windmill blades turn slow on scattered ranches where folks pause work to watch the convoy rumble past. Halfway to town, they stop at a dry creek bed to water horses and cool engines. Men smoke, stretch, mutter about Sutter's guards, about the sheriff's likely price to look the other way. Rafe leans against a cottonwood trunk, grin thin. What if the book ain't in his safe either, he says. We ride all this way to find more dust. Then we ask Sutter where he keeps it, Zeke says. And if he don't answer? Rafe asks, voice sweet as thorns. Zeke swings his gaze slow. Then he learns why folks shouldn't lie to men with nothing left to lose. Some riders nod. Others glance at Isaiah like maybe he brought steadier ground than their leader's temper promises. Naomi gives Caleb water from a canteen, keeping him close by the wagon. Isaiah doesn't like them this near the fire coals of what's coming, but moving them now feels worse, like lighting a match to dry grass. Engines fire again. The convoy climbs out of the creek bed, rolling toward town. Ahead, Dry Creek squats against the horizon. Church steeple, grain silos, the square where Sutter's bank throws its shadow longest. Isaiah feels the air change as they near the first fence lines. Birds go silent. Sun beats harder. Men check rifles more than once. Zeke lifts a hand, signal to halt at the ridge above town. They look down on streets still quiet, folks moving slow to morning chores. The bank squats whitewashed at the square's far side, flag limp above its door. Zeke turns to his men. "We walk in calm," he says. "We want the book, not bodies." Sutter gives it, we ride out. He plays hard, we play harder. Rafe grins wide. Hawk cracks his knuckles. Isaiah feels Caleb's small hand grip his boot from the wagon seat. Below, Dry Creek waits like a fuse unlit. Dry Creek wakes slow. Unaware it holds its breath. Chickens scatter along fences as the convoy rolls down Main Street. Bikes first, trucks after, riders flanking like wolves around cattle. Folks pause at water pumps, hats tilted, watching dust rise behind this moving wall of men. The bank squats at the far end, whitewashed walls bright under morning sun. Wide steps climb to double doors where brass handles shine like coins. Above them hangs a sign painted neat, Sutter and Company Mercantile and Loans. Isaiah rides beside Zeke as they stop in the square. Townspeople vanish into shops, curtains twitch, shutters close with soft thumps. The only sound left is engines idling and the slow creak of the windmill beyond the well. Zeke swings off his bike. 2 men on each corner, he orders. No one runs to the sheriff till we're done talking. Hawk signals riders to posts. Boots thud on boardwalks, rifles resting against railings. Rafe leans against a hitching post near the saloon, grin sharp enough to cut rope. Isaiah dismounts slower, eyes on the bank windows where shapes shift behind lace curtains. He spots a clerk's pale face before it vanishes deeper inside. Zeke climbs the steps, Isaiah at his shoulder. Naomi waits by the wagon with Caleb, shotgun across her knees though her hands stay steady. The bank doors open before Zeke knocks. Eldon Sutter himself steps out. Tall, coat clean as Sunday cloth, hair slicked silver neat. His smile stretches warm but never reaches his eyes. "Morning, gentlemen," Sutter says, voice smooth as cream. "Riding early, aren't we?" Zeke stops 2 steps below him. "We want the ledger," he says. "Names, debts, bribes, all of it." Sutter chuckles low. "Ledger? Why, I keep many books. Which troubles you so?" "The one you hid," Zeke says. "Months back. Said you stored it at my brother's ranch. You fetch it later or so you claimed." Sutter's brow lifts polite surprise. "Did I? Memory's fickle at my age." Zeke's jaw flexes. "Then fetch it now." Behind Sutter, clerks hover pale in the lobby. A deputy leans against the back wall, thumb near his holster but not eager yet. Sutter folds his hands. "Suppose I did have such a book. Why hand it to men with dust on boots and guns at hips?" "Because truth's coming either way," Zeke says. "Give it peaceful, you keep your windows. Lie and walls break before noon. Murmurs ripple across the street. Shopkeepers linger in doorways. A blacksmith grips his hammer like unsure which side justice rides today." Sutter smiles thin. "Threats, Mr. Cole?" "Promises," Zeke says. Isaiah studies the banker's eyes, cold as river stones under that polish. He sees a man weighing profit against risk like scales in his head. Sutter sighs then, theatrical. "Very well," he says, turning slow toward the door. "Wait here." He disappears inside. Zeke shifts on the step, hand near his belt but calm. Hawk watches windows for rifles. Rafe lights a cigarette, grin never slipping, eyes on Naomi across the square like a wolf checking fences. Minutes drag heavy. Dust swirls low along boardwalk edges. Caleb chews his lip till it bleeds. Finally, Sutter returns carrying a black ledger thick as a preacher's Bible. He sets it on the top step between him and Zeke. "County business," Sutter says, voice honeyed. "But if you want it, take it. Read every name loud if you please. See how many smile back." Zeke steps forward, hand closing on leather. Gunfire cracks from the saloon roof. Wood splinters near Hawk's head. Riders dive for cover. Horses scream and rear. Naomi yanks Caleb behind the wagon as another shot shatters the water trough. Zeke drops behind the steps, clutching the ledger tight. "Rafe!" he roars. "Where's it coming from?" But Rafe only smiles through smoke curling his cigarette, eyes bright like chaos tastes sweet. Isaiah drags Zeke toward the wagon as bullets chew dust around boots. Town bells start clanging. Alarm or warning, none can tell. Above them, Sutter watches calm from the doorway, like a man who planned every shot before breakfast. Bullets slice the morning calm into ribbons. Glass rains from the bank's upper windows as rifles bark from somewhere behind the saloon roof. Riders dive behind water troughs, barrels, and wagon wheels. Guns flashing back toward sunlit rooftops. Isaiah shoves Zeke toward the wagon. "Keep the book low," he shouts over the thunder. Naomi drags Caleb beneath the wagon bed, shielding the boy with her body as splinters leap from the wooden spokes. Hawk bellows orders, deep voice carrying through the chaos. "Left side! 2 rifles on the livery roof!" He fires twice, wood chips bursting from a shutter where muzzle smoke curls. But the real noise comes from the bank doors swinging wide again. Sutter steps out slow, calm as a preacher before prayer. Deputies pouring past him with rifles leveled. His voice cuts through the din. "Put down your guns, Cole," he calls toward Zeke. "Ledger's county property. You walk out with it, you hang before sundown." Zeke ducks behind the wagon tongue, eyes scanning the rooftops. "County property, my hide," he yells back. "That book's your leash on every man in this square." Sutter lifts a hand. The shooting from the rooftops pauses like someone pulled a string tight. Only the groan of horses and the rattle of settling glass fills the gap. "You think folk want your kind waving bribes in the air?" Sutter says. "You think they thank you for burning what law this county's got left?" Zeke peeks from the wagon edge. "They'll thank me when they see how you bought that law twice over." Rafe picks this moment to stroll from the hitching post, calm amid the smoke. His grin slices sideways as he leans near Zeke's cover. "Funny thing," Rafe says over the noise, "law always pays better than outlaws. Sutter made a fine offer last night." Zeke freezes. "You?" Rafe shrugs. "Roof boys? Mine now. Ledger? His again soon. Should have cut me bigger, boss." And with that, he whistles sharp toward the rooftops. Gunfire erupts fresh, aimed meaner now. At riders, at wagons, at anything not crouched behind Sutter's men. Hawk roars and drops 2 riflemen from the livery loft before a slug creases his shoulder, spinning him half around. Isaiah fires steady from behind the trough, covering Naomi and Caleb. Bullets chew mud near his boots, one punching through the wagon wheel inches from Caleb's head. The boy bites his fist to keep quiet as Naomi holds him tight. Zeke slams a fresh round into his carbine, eyes locked on Rafe, now striding bold toward the bank steps like a man claiming reward money. "You switch sides mid-fight?" Zeke yells. Rafe grins wider. "Sides pay different every sunrise." Sutter watches from the doorway, face smooth as pond water, while his deputies trade fire with both rooftop gunmen and Zeke's riders alike. Chaos works fine for a banker with the ledger still in reach. Zeke signals Hawk with a sharp gesture. The big man lobs 2 smoke bombs from his saddlebag, leftover tricks from raids past. They burst thick gray across Main Street, swallowing sightlines, choking rifles on both sides. "Grab the book," Zeke shouts. Isaiah bolts through smoke toward the wagon bed where Zeke shoved the ledger. Shots snap blind through the haze, one slamming a hitching post where his head was a second before. He dives, snatches the black book, feels its weight like loaded iron under his arm. Rafe curses through the smoke. "Stop him!" But Hawk shoulders through like a bull, slamming Rafe against the bank wall before the man can aim. Their guns clatter to boards as fists swing mean and fast. Zeke fires twice toward Sutter's doorway, driving the banker back inside like a rat retreating to dark corners. Deputies scatter for better cover, one yelling about running low on rounds. Smoke rolls thicker, horses screaming blind. Someone yells that the sheriff's riders are coming fast from the south road. No one knows whose side they'll choose when they arrive. Isaiah bursts from haze beside Zeke, ledger tight under his arm. "Got it!" he coughs. Zeke grips his shoulder, eyes wild through the smoke. "Then we ride before this whole town burns." Behind them, Rafe breaks free of Hawk's fist, blood on his lip and murder in his eyes. And the first bells of the sheriff's posse echo off the hills like iron promises closing fast. Sheriff's bells hammer closer, iron on iron, echoing through dust and smoke that choke Main Street. Zeke grips Isaiah's arm tight where they crouch behind the wagon, ledger clutched like gold between them. Around them chaos burns, Rafe cursing blood from his split lip, Sutter's men reloading behind broken windows, Hawk dragging 2 wounded riders toward cover. Posse will hit in 2 minutes, Isaiah shouts over the din. We ride now or hang separate. Zeke scans through the smoke where townsfolk huddle in doorways, some holding buckets, some holding their breath. He sees Sutter's silver hair flash near the bank doorway, calm as a man counting coins while the world cracks around him. Mount up! Zeke roars. Hawk bellows the order down the line. Riders scramble from alleys, boots pounding, rifles slung. Naomi shoves Caleb toward the wagon seat, climbing after him with the shotgun across her knees. Rafe wipes blood off his chin with the back of his hand, grin sliding back like a knife from a sheath. Run if you want, he calls, voice carrying through gun smoke. Ledger stays with me before the sun sets. Zeke swings into the saddle of his black horse, face dark with soot and fury. You try, he growls, and you ride down in the dust behind us. Rafe spits red into the street, eyes promising nothing but trouble later. The first sheriff's riders crest the south road, dust tails high behind pounding hooves. Their badges catch sun like tiny mirrors, rifles ready across saddles. Zeke signals sharp. His men wheel mounts and gun engines, convoys snapping together fast as drilled cavalry. Isaiah swings onto his mare, Ledger lashed tight in his saddlebag. Hawk rides rear guard, jaw set like stone. They break east out of town just as the sheriff's posse thunders into the square. Confusion tears the air. Deputies shouting at Sutter's men, riders scattering, Rafe vanishing into smoke before lawmen can sort friend from foe. Naomi clutches Caleb close as the wagon rattles hard over ruts. Hold on, baby, she mutters, knuckles white on the reins. Bullets crack behind them as someone fires wild from town roofs, but distance grows fast. Horses stretch long across open flats east of Dry Creek, engines coughing smoke behind grinding truck tires. Zeke rides near the front, eyes scanning ridgelines for ambush, jaw set hard. Isaiah keeps close, one hand on reins, the other near his rifle, though he prays no reason comes to draw it. After 2 miles, they swing off the main road, cutting north along an old cattle trail through sagebrush and dry gullies. Sheriff's bells fade behind them, replaced by wind-rattling mesquite pods and the clatter of hooves on stone. Finally, Zeke raises a fist. The column halts in a shallow draw where cottonwoods lean over a trickle of water. Horses drop heads to drink. Men slide stiff from saddles, catching breath, checking ammo. Isaiah yanks the ledger from his saddlebag, leather scuffed but whole. He slaps dust off its cover, eyes meeting Zeke's. This what you wanted? Zeke takes it slow, flipping pages thick with names, dates, amounts scrawled in Sutter's tight hand. Bribes to judges, payoffs to deputies, land grabs signed by men who swore public oaths. Zeke's mouth curls hard. This hangs him twice, he says. First in court, then in the street when folks read it. Isaiah scans the men watering horses, bandaging scrapes, reloading rifles with shaking hands. You think court listens after today? We left a war in that square. Then folks will listen, Zeke says. People broke enough stop bowing sooner or later. Hawk drops beside them, arm wrapped in a torn bandage from the shoulder graze. Rafe's alive, he rumbles. Saw him cut west out of town with 2 riders. He'll track us. Zeke nods slow. Let him. He wants this book so bad he can ride through lead to try. Isaiah glances at Naomi calming Caleb by the wagon. Dust streaked across her face, but eyes steady as stone. She meets his look, no fear there, only warning. Finish this before it burns everything left. Zeke tucks the ledger inside his coat, face shadowed under his hat brim. We ride for the ridge, he says. We read these names loud enough the county can't shut ears. Sutter falls tonight. But Isaiah hears the wind shift east where the trail snakes through red rock canyons. Trouble waits out there, maybe wearing a badge, maybe a scarred grin, maybe both. And the day's only half done. The trail east winds through Red Rock Canyon by late afternoon, sun sliding lower behind cliffs the color of old blood. Shadows crawl long across the sand floor where cottonwoods clutch at thin water. Zeke rides point, black coat snapping in wind, the ledger tucked tight inside his saddlebag. Isaiah keeps beside him, rifle across his lap, eyes cutting between canyon walls too steep and too quiet. Hawk rides rear guard as always, bandaged, shoulders stiff but eyes sharp. Naomi drives the wagon center, Caleb huddled beside her under a blanket, though heat still hangs heavy. The rest of Zeke's men string along narrow switchbacks, boots and hooves kicking dust that floats like ghosts behind them. Isaiah studies the cliff edges again. Too still, he mutters. Zeke nods once. Rafe's here. As if the name conjures him, a rifle cracks from the rim above. A slug smashes a rock near Hawk's horse, showering the trail with chips. Two more shots follow fast, echo bouncing wild off the walls. "Cover!" Zeke bellows. Riders yank reins, horses plunging toward thin cottonwood trunks along the canyon floor. Naomi whips the wagon off the main trail behind a boulder, Caleb clinging tight as dust boils around wheels. Figures move along the cliffs, 5, maybe 6 men, rifles flashing in sun before ducking behind stone. Rafe's voice carries from somewhere high and mean. "Ledger for your lives, boys! Toss it up and ride out breathing!" Zeke drops behind a fallen log, carbine steady. "You want it, Rafe?" he shouts. "Come take it yourself!" Laughter drifts down like dust. Then more gunfire pins them tight, lead whining off rocks, horses screaming where ricochets bite near hooves. Isaiah fires back measured shots, keeping Rafe's men ducking. Hawk picks targets with slow precision, dropping one rifleman from a ledge where he sprawls kicking before sliding down stone like a sack of feed. But more men crawl into view along the rim. Rafe brought friends from somewhere, mean-eyed drifters hungry enough to fight for Sutter's coin or their leader's grudge. Naomi reloads the shotgun calm as laundry day, eyes never leaving Caleb's pale face. "Stay low, baby," she murmurs, voice steady over the whine of lead above. Zeke signals 2 riders to flank left along a goat trail climbing toward the rim. "Smoke 'em out," he orders. The pair scramble upward, rifles slung, hugging shadowed crevices where bullets spit dust too close. One makes the ridgeline, fires down fast, driving Rafe's men back from the edge long enough for Zeke's convoy to shift positions. Rafe himself shows then, lean silhouette against sky, rifle lifted casual across one arm, like this fight's a game he means to win slow. "Book for peace, Zeke," he calls, "or your kin bleeds first." His barrel angles toward the wagon where Naomi crouches over Caleb. Isaiah's gut goes cold. He sights his rifle, breath steady, finger tightening. But Zeke fires first, slug whining close enough to take Rafe's hat spinning off into dust. The outlaw leader laughs and ducks back before Hawk's shot chips the stone where he stood. "Drive 'em west," Zeke yells. His flankers on the ridge push forward, rifles cracking downhill. 2 of Rafe's men break cover, running for horses tied behind a sandstone spur. Another drops his gun, clutching a thigh wound, screaming echo off the cliffs. The canyon fills with gun smoke and curses, horses snorting wild as lead slaps stone from every side. Isaiah climbs to the wagon, checking Naomi, checking Caleb, both shaken, both whole. "You hold here," he says. "We finish this fast." Naomi grips the shotgun tighter, nods once, jaw set like iron. Zeke signals Hawk and 3 riders to charge the left spur where fire thins. Hooves thunder through dust, pistols barking close now, echoes cracking off walls until 2 more of Rafe's men scatter, sliding down loose shale toward the flats beyond. Silence falls sudden as the last rifle cracks and fades. Only wind and a wounded horse's whinny fill the canyon now, but Rafe's gone, vanished through some cut in the cliffs with 2 riders limping after, leaving 3 bodies cooling in red dust behind him. Zeke stands in stirrups, scanning rim edges where only crows move now. "He'll circle back," he says flat, snake like him always does. Isaiah wipes dust and sweat from his face. "Next time we end it." Zeke pats the saddlebag heavy with the ledger. "Next time we make sure he can't take what hangs Sutter before sundown." Night drops over the canyon slow and heavy, carrying the smell of gun smoke and dust. Coyotes call from far ridges while Zeke's crew packs ammo, checks wounds, and readies horses under a rising half-moon. The ledger sits in Zeke's saddlebag like a beating heart, every man glancing at it between movements, as if its weight alone pulled trouble toward them. Isaiah ties the last cinch on his mare, eyes scanning the dark canyon walls. Rafe is out there somewhere, waiting, maybe watching. 3 of his men lie buried in shallow graves by the creek bed. The others slipped west with him when the fight turned bad. He'll come again, snakes always do. Naomi settles Caleb in the wagon bed, wrapping him tight against the desert chill. The boy hasn't spoken since the bullets cracked above his head earlier. She brushes hair from his face, whispering soft until his eyes finally close. Zeke swings into the saddle, coat flaring against starlight. "We ride quiet," he says. "Back roads to town. Sutter wakes tomorrow with his name burning through every mouth in the county." Hawk mounts behind him, shoulder bandaged but jaw set hard. Rafe will smell that plan halfway there. Let him, Zeke says. Ledger sees daylight before he sees my back. They move out single file, wagon between riders, engine silent, horses picking careful through moonlit arroyos. Crickets hum, saddle leather creaks. Every shadow looks shaped like a rifle barrel to Isaiah, but no shots come. 2 hours later, the lights of Dry Creek glimmer faint ahead. Oil lamps along Main Street, the tall windows of Sutter's Bank throwing gold rectangles onto dust. The courthouse clock ticks toward midnight, its bell quiet for now. They halt in cottonwoods beyond the last fence line. Zeke calls the crew close. Ledger goes on the church steps. He says. Names read loud enough the whole town hears. Sutter's empire cracks before sunup. Isaiah scans the riders' faces. Some nod hungry for justice. Others glance toward shadows where law badges might shine soon as gun smoke clears. Naomi climbs down from the wagon, eyes narrow. You read it loud, he'll come with every deputy in 3 counties. Let him, Zeke says. Book shows who paid those deputies. Truth cuts deeper than bullets. Hawk checks his rifle. Rafe cuts deep too. He ain't done. As if summoned, a coyote yips close along the ridge. Isaiah's hand tightens on his carbine. Then hoofbeats roll from the west. Fast, light, coming hard. Riders freeze. Hawk signals silence. Horses snort and stamp while men fade into mesquite shadows. 3 shapes burst from moonlight scrub. A boy on a lathered Mustang leading 2 sway-backed mules. He hauls up gasping, eyes wide. Sheriff's men, the boy pants. Half camped at the depot, half at Sutter's place. Got rifles on the roof since sundown. Zeke pulls him close. Rafe with him? The boy shakes his head. Didn't see, but law's thick as fleas. Zeke lets him go, eyes scanning town lights. Figures Sutter hides behind badges tonight. Isaiah steps up. We ride in loud, someone dies that shouldn't. Zeke nods slow. Then we ride smart. He turns to his crew. 2 teams. Hawk, you take 5 men around South Ridge. Cut telegraph lines, smoke the depot if they move too quick. Isaiah, you and me walk straight to those steps with the book. Folks hear names before law hears orders. Naomi grips his arm. You think truth alone stops bullets? Zeke meets her eyes, voice low. Truth's all that ever did. He signals the break. Men melt into night. Boots whispering over dry grass. Hawk leads his team south, rifles slung, disappearing toward the ridge where telegraph poles march like skeletons against moonlight. Isaiah shoulders his carbine, falling beside Zeke as they start toward the glow of town. Naomi drives the wagon slow behind, Caleb asleep under blankets, unaware the night holds its breath for whatever comes next. Somewhere beyond the courthouse clock, a hammer clicks, single, sharp, echoing off brick. Rafe's still out there, waiting. Midnight grips Dry Creek tight when Zeke and Isaiah reach the edge of town. The streets lie dark except for lanterns swinging on the courthouse porch and the steady glow from Sutter's Bank windows. Somewhere beyond, telegraph poles crackle once, then fall silent. Hawk's work cutting the wires clean. Zeke moves through shadow toward the church steps, Isaiah close behind with the ledger under his arm. Naomi keeps the wagon back in the cottonwoods where Caleb sleeps on. Unaware, the night leans toward gunfire. They climb the wooden steps slow, boots hollow on boards. Across the square, shutters crack just wide enough for townsfolk eyes to glint in lamplight. Words spread faster than hoofbeats. Sutter's book would speak tonight. Zeke turns, facing the windows, the alleys, the dark doorways where law badges might wait. He opens the ledger wide. Pages gleam pale under the church lantern swinging from its hook. Isaiah watches the alleys. Nothing moves. Yet. Zeke's voice cuts the quiet clean. Eldon Sutter, he calls, kept this county leashed with paper and gold. Every man paid to look away. Every name's in this book. He reads the first name loud. Sheriff Deacon Kane. Payments dated, amounts neat beside signatures. A stir ripples through the square. Someone spits hard on dirt near the livery. Second name, Judge Harold Deaton. Twice the money, twice the dates. Murmurs swell now, fists gripping fence rails in the dark. Third name, Pastor Ellis Gray. Half the church fund bought with Sutter's silver. A gasp rolls across the square like wind before storm. Isaiah sees curtains yank wider, faces pale in lamplight. Some deputies shift where they crouch near the bank, eyes cutting toward each other. Toward the sheriff not yet arrived from the depot. Zeke keeps reading. Voice steady as hammer blows. Councilmen, ranch foremen, railroad agents. The ledger bleeds names until the square itself feels ready to snap. Then a rifle cracks from the saloon roof. The bullet slams the church post beside Zeke's head, splinters stinging his cheek. Isaiah shoves him down as a second shot punches through the lantern, throwing sparks across the steps. Chaos erupts fast. Riders near the south alley return fire toward rooftops. Townsfolk scream and scatter behind rain barrels, through doorways, into the dark. Rafe's laugh cuts through gun smoke from somewhere above. "Read louder, Zeke! Folks can't hear over their own dying." More shots rake the square. A deputy goes down near the trough, badge glinting once before he hits mud. Hawk's men from the ridge swing in then, rifles cracking from behind freight wagons where they'd circled back after cutting wires. Isaiah drags the ledger under his coat as bullets chew the church steps. Zeke fires back toward the saloon roof where Rafe's shadow darts between chimneys like a hunting cat. Then Sutter himself steps from the bank porch, coat buttoned, face calm as Sunday ice. Two men with shotguns flank him, barrels aimed at the square. "Hand it over, Cole," Sutter shouts through smoke. "Book belongs to the court." "The court you bought?" Zeke yells back. "Name's already sung, Sutter. Folks heard enough to hang you twice." As if to prove it, voices rise from the shadows, angry, rough, carrying words like thief, liar, traitor. Townsmen with pitchforks, with old rifles long stored for wolves now pointed at the bank instead. Sutter's calm cracks just a breath. He signals his men forward, but Rafe fires first. His shot takes one of Sutter's guards through the shoulder, spinning him off the porch. Another round drops a deputy near the well. "Book's mine," Rafe bellows from the roofline. "Sutter pays double when I bring it." Now everyone's shooting. Sutter's men at Zeke, Zeke's crew at the roof, townsfolk yelling at both, bullets snapping wild through lantern light. Hawk hauls Naomi behind a water trough as she drags Caleb from the wagon, the boy finally waking to fire and fear. Isaiah fires toward the roof where Rafe reloads behind a chimney. "We move now!" he shouts at Zeke. Zeke grips the ledger tight, eyes on Sutter retreating toward the bank door under his men's cover fire. "Not till this book burns his name across the whole damn county," Zeke growls. Gunfire owns the square now. Muzzles flash from rooftops, from the bank porch, from freight wagons turned sideways for cover. Smoke rolls thick, swallowing lamplight, twisting through the ringing chaos of horses, shouting men, and shattering glass. Isaiah hauls Zeke behind the church well as a slug punches chips from the stone rim inches above their heads. The ledger stays clamped under Zeke's arm, black leather scarred where one bullet already grazed it. "Book won't matter if we're dead," Isaiah shouts over the roar. Zeke racks his rifle, eyes hard through drifting smoke. "Won't matter if we run either. Sutter lives, this county dies slow." Another shot snaps close. Naomi huddles with Caleb under the wagon, Hawk crouched beside them, blasting steady at shadows on the saloon roof where Rafe prowls like a cat with 9 lives. "Move!" Hawk bellows. "We're boxed here!" Zeke signals left. Isaiah fires covering rounds as they dash from the well to the livery wall, boots skidding through spilled grain and broken lantern glass. Heat rolls from the burning wagon by the trough where some fool's bullet hit kerosene. Across the square, Sutter retreats toward his bank doors under guard fire. Townsmen yell from alleys now, some aiming rusty rifles at Sutter's crew, some at Zeke's riders. Nobody sure which devils deserve the bullets more. Zeke slams against the livery wall, breath harsh. "We cut east," he shouts to Hawk. "Bridge Road, then the ridge. Draw 'em off town." Hawk nods, signals riders toward the back alley where horses stamp and snort against hitch rails. But Rafe hears over the gunfire. His laugh cuts sharp through smoke. "Run, brother! I'll fetch that book from your saddle once you're cooling in dust." Bullets chase Zeke and Isaiah as they sprint alley to alley toward the stockyard gate. Riders mount fast, Hawk hauling Naomi into the wagon seat with Caleb clinging tight beside her. Horses scream as shots spook them sideways before Hawk's voice rips through the din, pulling the team under control. Zeke swings into his black gelding, Isaiah onto his mare. Riders wheel, wagon lurches, and they break from the square in a hammer of hooves and iron wheels. Rafe's men pour from shadows after them, gunfire snapping down the empty main street as townsfolk scatter into doorways. Sutter's guards hold the bank porch, unsure whether to chase Zeke or defend their boss from the townsmen's growing anger boiling at their backs. East Road takes the convoy fast toward the river bridge, moonlight flashing on rifle barrels as riders fire back at shapes chasing from alleys. Rafe leads the pursuit, face streaked with soot, teeth bared white in the dark. At the bridge the planks rattle under hooves and wagon wheels. River glitters black below, high from spring rains, current tearing at stone pilings like claws. Zeke yanks the team up halfway across. Riders swing down, Hawk tossing a crate of dynamite from the wagon bed. Isaiah's eyes flare. "You're dropping the bridge?" Zeke cuts fuse lengths fast. "Rafe dies here, or he hunts us till judgment." Gunfire cracks from the road bend as Rafe's riders thunder closer. Bullets slap the bridge rails, whining off wagon spokes. One horse screams, crashing sideways into the dust. Hawk shoves Naomi and Caleb across the bridge toward the far bank, while Isaiah and two riders stack crates against the center pilings. Fuse hisses. "Mount up!" Zeke roars. They spur off the bridge as Rafe's crew pounds onto the near end. Muzzle flashes strobe the night while the fuse spits sparks toward powder boxes. Rafe sees too late. Eyes wide, reins hauling back hard as Zeke's shot takes the fuse itself, fire racing bright into the crates. The blast turns night white. Bridge planks leap skyward, timbers spinning, water erupting in a tower of spray and fire. Rafe's lead riders vanish screaming into smoke and river roar as the span rips apart under them. Zeke's convoy hits the far bank hard, horses lunging up the slope while flaming debris rains behind. Half the bridge falls away, the rest sagging twisted into black water where Rafe's curses fade under the river's boil. On the ridge above, Zeke reins in, chest heaving, watching the burning wreck cut the road behind them. Isaiah wheels beside him, eyes scanning shattered timbers below. "That stop him?" Zeke shakes his head slow. "Snakes swim, brother. He'll crawl out mad." The ledger rides heavy in his coat as if it knows the night ain't done burning yet. Morning creeps slow over Dry Creek, painting the burned bridge smoke pale silver and the town roofs cold gray. Zeke and his crew camp on the ridge above the river, horses tethered among mesquite, wagon wheels sunk half in dust. The ledger lies on a blanket between Zeke and Isaiah, its pages already smudged from smoke, mud, and blood. Naomi pours black coffee from a soot-stained pot while Caleb huddles close to her side, blanket tight around his shoulders. Hawk leans against a wagon wheel, bandaged arms stiff, eyes on the road west where Rafe might crawl from the river with whatever men lived the blast. Isaiah turns a page, voice low but steady. "Judge Deaton, Sheriff Kane, Pastor Gray, Sutter bought half this county." Zeke rubs grit from his beard. "Other half let him." From the slope below, a rider approaches fast, horse lathered, hat waving high. He reins in sharp among the wagons, face streaked with dust. "Town's boiling," he says. After you read them names, folks gathered at the square. Deputies split, some quit, some threaten to shoot Sutter next time he orders them loaded. Zeke stands slow. "And Sutter?" "Barricaded in his bank," the rider says. "Got lawmen stacking rifles at the doors. Says he'll hold till the governor sends soldiers." Isaiah snorts. "Governor's name's in this book twice." Zeke closes the ledger hard. "Then folks hear the rest before sun hits noon." They ride for town as morning spreads across the flats, wagon rumbling behind, dust tails marking their trail like smoke signals. Hawk scouts ahead, rifle across his saddle. Naomi keeps Caleb close beside her on the wagon seat, eyes narrow under the brim of her hat. Dry Creek looks different in daylight. Windows stand open now, faces watching from porches, men with rifles leaning against door frames not waiting for Sutter's orders anymore. At the square, a crowd swells thick. Ranch hands, blacksmiths, shopkeepers, women with shawls tight against morning wind. Murmurs roll like thunder when Zeke rides up the church steps again. Ledger under his arm, Isaiah and Hawk flanking close. Sutter's bank looms at the far end, doors shut, curtains drawn. Two deputies linger on the porch, but their rifles hang uncertain, eyes on the crowd more than the street. Zeke opens the book. "You heard some names last night," he calls, voice carrying over the square. "Hear the rest now?" He reads them steady. Railroad men, freight bosses, cattle barons who sold water rights for silver while ranchers watched wells run dry. Murmurs rise to shouts as each name drops like hammer blows on iron. A rancher near the trough spits hard. "Knew my grazing permit vanished too clean," he growls. Others mutter about sons jailed after judges took Sutter's coin, about debts called during drought while Sutter bought land cheap as dirt. Zeke lifts the book high. "This county's been chained to one man's greed. Time you break it." Cheers rip through the square. Men slam rifle butts on boardwalk planks. Women shout names toward shuttered windows where councilmen hide behind curtains. At the bank porch, a deputy tosses his badge into dust. "Done taking orders from thieves," he yells, stepping off toward the crowd. Two more follow, rifles left leaning by the door. Inside the bank, curtains twitch. Sutter's pale face shows once, tight-lipped, then vanishes back into shadow. Isaiah watches the square shift like dry grass before fire. Angry, ready, waiting on a spark. Hawk leans close to Zeke. "Crowd gets big enough, they'll drag Sutter out themselves." "Good," Zeke says, "but law keeps what law stole. We want it clean." He turns back to the crowd. "Sheriff Kane takes coin from this man," he shouts, reading the amounts. "Rides with deputies right now guarding him in that bank." A roar answers. Men surge toward the bank steps with fists and rifle stocks. Deputies inside shout warnings no one heeds. Sutter appears in the doorway finally, voice shaking over the noise. "You come at me! This whole street runs red!" But the crowd keeps coming. Isaiah shoulders his rifle, eyes on rooftops where Rafe might crawl back into the storm any minute. Trouble waits there, coiled tight, ready to strike before the day ends. The square boils like water on iron. Townsfolk surge against the bank steps, fists hammering doors while Sutter's deputies shout warnings from behind shuttered windows. Dust hangs thick where boots scuff the boardwalk, where wagon teams snort and rear against the press of bodies. Zeke stands on the church porch, the ledger raised high like scripture. "Names don't lie," he shouts. "Your land, your water, your votes, bought and sold by the man cowering in that bank." A roar answers, louder than last night's gunfire. Men slam rifle stocks against porch rails. Women shout curses sharp enough to cut wood. Then a voice slices through the chaos, smooth as oil over gravel. "Pretty speech, brother." Rafe rides in from the south road like he owns the dust under his horse's hooves. Hat gone, coat torn, face streaked with soot from the blown bridge, but grin sharp as broken glass. 6 riders trail him, rifles slung loose, eyes mean. The crowd parts uneasy as Rafe swings down near the well, boots hitting dust soft. He wipes river mud from his sleeve, gaze sliding to the ledger in Zeke's hand. "Book cost me good men last night," Rafe says. "Cost Sutter some too, I hear. Seems shame one of you don't pay proper before sun sets." Zeke shifts on the church steps, rifle ready but low. "You crawl back here for coin or revenge?" Rafe's grin widens. "Both, maybe. Sutter pays double now. County's his again once that book burns." From the bank porch, Sutter appears, pale behind 2 guards. He sees Rafe, gestures sharp toward the door. "Bring it inside," Sutter calls. "Gold for you, law for him." The crowd roars at that, angry, spitting, surging harder against the steps. A deputy fires warning shots in the air. Townsfolk scatter, then press back twice as fierce. Zeke turns so all can hear. "You see? He buys law, buys guns, buys snakes like this one crawling in to bite whoever feeds him last." Rafe shrugs easy, rifle across his shoulders. "Snake bites fastest when cornered." Isaiah moves to Zeke's side, carbine aimed steady now. Hawk circles wide through the crowd toward the well, eyes locked on Rafe's 6 riders lounging near their horses like wolves waiting meat. Sutter waves frantic from the porch. "Stop talking and bring it." But Rafe doesn't move yet. His eyes stay on the ledger, on the crowd, on the money promised and the power tilting under everyone's boots. He smells fear thick as sweat from the bank door, anger hot off the townsfolk, stubborn fire from Zeke standing straight with the book held high. "Could be," Rafe says slow. "This county's cheaper bought from you than him." Zeke's rifle lifts a hair. "You point that barrel, we find out." Tension pulls the square tight as fence wire. Crowd holding breath, deputies shouting, Sutter retreating 2 steps back into shadow. Hawk's hand hovers near his revolver. Isaiah sights down his carbine straight at Rafe's chest. The first shot cracks from the roofline where one of Rafe's men twitches wrong. Bullet takes him clean off his feet, rifle clattering across shingles before his body thuds the boardwalk below. Then the square explodes. Rafe dives for the trough, firing toward the bank porch where Sutter's guards blaze back. Townsfolk scatter, some firing rusty rifles at both sides now, anger blind as stampeding cattle. Hawk drops 2 riders near the well before a slug spins him against the water barrels. Zeke shoves the ledger into Naomi's hands where she shields Caleb behind the wagon. "Keep it low," he yells, turning to fire toward Rafe ducking behind the trough. Bullets chew dust around Sutter's doorway where deputies drag benches for cover. The banker himself vanishes into shadow, leaving lawmen to trade lead while his name burns in every shout from the crowd. Isaiah spots Rafe circling toward the wagon, eyes locked on Naomi clutching the ledger tight. He fires, slug grazing Rafe's sleeve, but the outlaw keeps coming through smoke and screams like a man chasing gold at the bottom of hell. Zeke sees too late, shouting warning as Rafe lunges for the wagon step, and the square tilts toward something none of them can stop before blood hits dust again. Rafe lunges for the wagon, teeth bared, hand outstretched toward the black ledger clutched tight under Naomi's arm. Bullets whip through smoke from three directions. Sutter's guards on the bank porch, townsmen firing from alleys, Hawk's riders holding the church rail. Naomi jerks back, Caleb gripping her skirt with white knuckles. She raises the shotgun one-handed, eyes locked on Rafe's grin. The blast hits him square in the chest. Rafe staggers mid-stride, surprise flashing across his face like lightning over Canyon Rock. His rifle clatters to dust. Another slug from Isaiah's carbine smashes his shoulder before he collapses hard against the wagon wheel, dust rising around his boots. The square freezes a heartbeat. Zeke pushes through smoke toward the wagon, rifle ready. Rafe lies gasping, coat dark with blood, eyes blazing hate even as life runs out of him. "Ledger, mine," he rasps. Zeke crouches close, voice flat as iron. "Sutter bought your soul twice over. Looks like neither deal paid." Rafe tries for the knife at his belt, but strength leaves before fingers close. His last breath rattles once, then stills. Dust settles where his grin dies. Gunfire drags the square back alive. Sutter's men keep shooting from the porch while townsfolk press forward, shouting names Zeke read from the book, curses for every debt and lie laid bare. Hawk bellows orders, his deep voice carrying over the chaos. Two riders haul Rafe's body aside while others drive the crowd toward cover as bullets chew railings and hitch posts. "Hold the porch!" Isaiah yells, firing steady toward the bank doors where deputies crouch behind benches stacked like barricades. One lawman drops, rifle spinning from his hands before he tumbles down the steps. Another throws his badge into the dust, running for the livery with curses trailing after. Sutter appears in a window above the bank door, face pale as bone. "This is my town," he shouts, voice cracking. "You turn guns on me, you hang with him." "Your town's done," Zeke roars back, firing toward the window. Glass shatters. Sutter ducks, vanishing from sight. More townsmen surge across the square, some with pitchforks, some with rifles long kept for coyotes now aimed at law bought with bribes. Deputies break ranks one by one, tossing rifles aside, backing into alleys under the crowd's roar. Hawk's riders push forward through smoke until only a handful of Sutter's guards remain at the bank doors. Bullets spark off stone steps, splinters flying from the big oak frame, but the press of bodies drives closer each moment. Isaiah slams a fresh round into his carbine. "They'll break soon," he mutters. "Not before Sutter runs," Zeke says. As if hearing, the banker bolts from the side door, coattails snapping, two men covering his retreat toward the freight yard. The crowd spots him, shouting rage, firing wild as he ducks behind wagons stacked with grain sacks. Zeke signals Hawk, "Cut him off before he hits the depot." Hawk mounts fast, three riders thundering after Sutter through smoke and dust. Isaiah climbs the wagon seat beside Naomi, scanning rooftops for any last ambush. But Rafe's men lie dead or scattered, none left to take the shot. Zeke shoulders through the crowd, ledger under one arm, rifle in the other, boots pounding after Hawk toward the freight yard where Sutter stumbles between boxcars. The banker trips once, scrambles up, breath ragged, eyes wild. He fires a pistol blind over his shoulder before another shot from Hawk knocks it spinning into dirt. Cornered against the loading ramp, Sutter turns, hands trembling high. "You want law? You want order?" he shouts hoarse. "This county burns without me." Zeke steps closer, dust swirling around his boots. "It already burns because of you." He tosses the ledger at Sutter's feet. Pages flap open under wind, names, dates, bribes bleeding across paper for all to see as the first townsmen reach the yard, rifles raised, voices shouting justice. Sutter looks once at the crowd, once at the book, then tries to run again. Hawk's bullet drops him before he reaches the tracks. The banker falls beside the ledger he thought could buy every soul in the county, dust rising where his empire ends. Dust settles slow over the freight yard where Sutter lies face down beside the ledger that ended him. His pistol glints once in the sun before Hawk kicks it away. The crowd presses close. Ranchers, shopkeepers, men with soot-black faces and women clutching children on hips. Murmurs ripple like wind through wheat. Zeke stands over the body, rifle down now, chest heaving after the long night. He lifts the ledger once more so all can see. Pages flap in the hot breeze, names inked dark as guilt itself. "It's done," Hawk rumbles, voice rough as gravel. Isaiah scans the rooftops, alleys, the water tower above the yard. No rifles point back now. Deputies who haven't fled stand with hands high, badges stripped, faces pale in dust. From the crowd a man steps forward, gray-bearded, coat patched at the elbows. "He took my pasture last spring," he calls, voice shaking. "Raised the tax till I lost the land my father built." Another voice joins. "My boy hanged on Deaton's word after Kane planted whiskey in his wagon. Book says Sutter paid them both." Anger boils quick, fists shaking toward the courthouse down the street where the judge still hides behind shuttered windows. Zeke raises a hand. "We let law crawl out from under this first," he says. "Names go to every paper from here to Houston. Folks see who sold them, not just hear it shouted in dust." Some nod. Others mutter about ropes and trees tall enough for deputies, for judges, for councilmen whose names fill half the ledger. Naomi steps forward, Caleb clinging to her skirt. Her face streaked with smoke and weariness, but voice steady as fence wire. "Book goes north on the noon stage," she says. "Territory marshals raid it before sunset. County cleans house after. A rancher spits in dirt. Court's bought too." "Maybe," Isaiah says, "but sunlight burns what bullets can't." Zeke shuts the ledger with a snap. "First we clear this town," he says. "No more gun thugs, no more hired law. Deputies drop rifles now or ride out before sundown." One by one, the remaining lawmen toss guns into the dust. Some back away toward the freight tracks. Others sit hard on the ground like men twice their age, eyes hollow where power drained out with Sutter's coin. Hawk shoulders his rifle. "What about the judge?" Zeke looks toward the courthouse steps where curtains twitch at upstairs windows. "He faces folks tomorrow with marshals here to hold the door." The crowd rumbles agreement. Some want ropes tonight, but others nod at the thought of papers stamped, trials held clean for once in county history. Near the bank, two riders haul out chests heavy with Sutter's silver. Townsfolk stare hungry at wealth stacked high on the porch where he ruled yesterday. "His money builds the school he promised and never paid for," Naomi says loud enough for all to hear. "Fixes the wells, buys seed for ranchers left dry by his dams." A cheer rises this time, sharp but not angry. For the first time since dawn, the square sounds like hope instead of fury. Isaiah leans against a hitch rail, carbine slung now. "Still riders out west loyal to him," he warns. "Could ride in when word spreads thin." "Let 'em," Zeke says. They find no banker left to pay their guns. Hawk ties the silver chests behind the wagon seat while Naomi watches deputies load Sutter's body under a canvas tarp. Caleb stares wide-eyed but silent, small hands gripping the wagon rail like anchor ropes. From the north road, a dust cloud rises. Marshals riding hard, blue coats flashing sunlight through heat shimmer. Folks part to let them through, faces unreadable as they take in the bank porch stacked with silver, the courthouse ringed by rifles, the freight yard where Sutter lies cooling under canvas. Their captain swings down, scanning Zeke, the ledger in his hands. The townsman bristling with anger not yet spent. "This county under control?" he asks flat. Zeke offers the book. "Names enough here to keep courts busy till Christmas." The captain flips a page, eyes narrowing at signatures under bribe sums neat as ledgers in any city bank. "We'll need statements. Trials start in Galveston when riders carry news." Zeke nods once. "Justice first, then maybe peace." Behind them the sun climbs over Dry Creek, lighting smoke still curling from the burned bridge west of town. Ash drifts on the wind like gray snow across roofs, rails, and the end of one man's empire. 3 days later, the courthouse doors of Dry Creek swing open under a sun that burns hot enough to bleach bone. The air smells of dust and old timber as townsfolk crowd the square, hats off, faces tight with expectation. The marshals run the place now, blue coats posted at each step, rifles easy but ready, eyes sharp on every alley where trouble might slither back. The governor's seal hangs on the courthouse wall behind the bench. Though folks mutter the governor's name sits twice in the ledger Zeke handed over. Inside, Judge Deaton stands pale at the front, hair damp, collar crooked like he dressed too fast. He hasn't slept since the ledger hit Galveston by wire. The names under his gavel weigh heavier than law ever did. Zeke sits near the front row, hat low, rifle resting against his leg. Isaiah beside him, eyes scanning doors, windows, jurors shifting uneasy on the benches. Hawk leans against the back wall, arms folded, bandaged shoulders stiff but healing. Naomi keeps Caleb close, the boy's eyes wide at marshals in blue coats guarding every corner. The clerk reads charges against Eldon Sutter's deputies, councilmen, railroad agents, all the names inked neat in that black ledger, now evidence enough to drown the whole courthouse in shame. Some men plead guilty before testimony even starts, voices shaking like wind through dry cottonwoods. Others mutter about lies, about conspiracies, until ledger's pages land before the jury with signatures clear as sunrise. The crowd listens tight-lipped while witnesses speak. Ranchers telling of land seized after drought, widows of men jailed on false warrants, shopkeepers taxed out of business while Sutter bought their lots cheap as dirt. Each story drops like a hammer on the bench where Judge Deaton sweats under his robe. When his own name comes read aloud, 3 payments dated neat beside Sutter's handwriting, the room shifts like cattle-smelling storm. Murmurs swell until marshals pound rifle butts on the floor for order. Judge Deaton clears his throat, voice thin. "I was misled. Evidence unclear. Evidence sits in your handwriting," the clerk snaps, holding up the ledger page high enough for the back row to see. By afternoon, the jury convicts half the council, 3 deputies, and 2 railroad men on charges from bribery to false arrest. Sentences wait on territorial courts north, but chains click shut on wrists before the ink dries. When Judge Deaton steps down under guard, folks outside the windows roar loud enough to shake dust from rafters. Zeke watches stone-faced. Justice crawls slow, but it crawls. At recess, a marshal captain stops by Zeke's bench. "Ledger's gone to Austin next," he says. "Governor faces questions in front of legislators who don't owe him coin." Zeke nods once. "Burns high enough, fire might spread clean for once." Outside, Naomi walks Caleb along the boardwalk where riders post new notices, tax rolls rewritten, water rights restored, school funds pulled from Sutter's seized accounts. Folks read each page like scripture, eyes bright for the first time in years. Hawk joins Zeke by the hitch rail, voice low. Some of Sutter's riders slipped off after the fight. Might come back mean when coin runs out. "Let 'em," Zeke says. "This town won't scare easy again." Near sundown, the court adjourns till morning for sentencing. Prison wagons wait by the freight yard under guard heavy enough to stop a war. Convicts stare from barred windows at townsfolk lining the street, faces cold as stone. Isaiah leans on the rail beside Zeke. "You leaving after this?" Zeke watches marshals chain another councilman into the wagon. "Book's done its work here. Maybe time I ride south before folks start calling me lawman." Isaiah half smiles. "World flips funny. Outlaw one week, courthouse hero the next." Zeke shrugs, eyes on the sunset burning red behind telegraph poles freshly spliced where Hawk cut them days back. Lines hum again, carrying news of Dry Creek's fall toward every town Sutter once owned. Naomi joins them, Caleb asleep against her shoulder. "School board asked me to hold funds till elections," she says. "Figure Sutter owed the children first." Zeke nods, hat brim low. "Owed a lot of folks first." Night settles as lamps glow along Main Street, the courthouse bell tolling once over a town learning how law sounds when bought voices fall silent. The sun drops low over Dry Creek, laying long gold stripes across the boardwalks and fresh posters nailed outside the courthouse. Sentencing waits for dawn, but folks already walk lighter, voices louder, like chains slipped off shoulders they wore too long. Zeke leans against the rail by the church steps, hat brim shading eyes that haven't closed proper since the bridge fight. The ledger's gone north under martial guard, locked tight in a strong box bound for Austin. Justice walks slower than bullets, but it walks. Isaiah joins him, handing over a tin cup of coffee. "Crowd says you ought to stay. Wear a badge maybe." Zeke snorts. "I ride better without paper on my chest." Hawk limps from the freight yard, arm in a fresh bandage. He leans his rifle against the rail, eyes on the horizon. Word is, some of Sutter's riders camped 2 ridges west. Not all took kindly to courts running what used to be his. Isaiah tenses. "How many?" Hawk shrugs. 10, maybe 12. Mean enough to try something before sunup. Zeke sips coffee slow. "Let 'em come. Town's not the same scared place they left." Across the street, Naomi helps Caleb down from the wagon seat where he's been counting boards in the porch rail like beads on a string. She speaks with 2 women holding petitions for a new schoolhouse, funds drawn from Sutter's seized accounts. Children gather round the wagon bed where sacks of flour and seeds sit stacked, the first goods bought with money Sutter once hoarded behind iron locks. Marshal Captain Briggs steps from the courthouse, coat off, sleeves rolled, the look of a man who's seen 3 days without rest. Trials wrap tomorrow, he tells Zeke. Sentences head north on the prison wagons by week's end. Town council seats open for election after. Make sure folks pick better than last time, Zeke says. Briggs eyes the west ridge where clouds bruise the sunset. Better pick quick if those riders get bold tonight. As if the thought carries on wind, a shot cracks faint from far hills. Folks freeze mid-step, heads turning toward the sound. Another follows, closer this time, slug whining off the church bell where it hangs quiet above the square. Briggs curses, shouting orders. Marshals scatter to corners, rifles ready. Townsmen grab weapons propped by doors since yesterday's verdicts. Then hooves drum from the west road, riders cresting the ridge, silhouettes black against fire-red sky. 10, maybe 12 like Hawk said, guns glinting as they charge downhill toward the square. Zeke swings into his saddle before the first marshal fires back. Bullets snap through dusk, one horse screaming as lead finds it early. The rest thunder on, faces twisted hard under wide brims. "Circle the wagons!" Briggs bellows. Hawk and 2 marshals drag Naomi and Caleb behind the freight platform where cover runs thick. Isaiah climbs the church steps, carbine steady across the rail. Townsfolk scatter inside doorways as the riders hit the street, guns barking wild. Zeke spurs straight into them. His rifle drops the lead rider before the man clears the well. Another swings a pistol toward the freight platform. Hawk's slug knocks him backward off his saddle before he fires twice. Dust swallows boots, hooves, smoke as riders break against the square like storm water hitting stone. 3 fall before they reach the bank porch, 2 more wheel off when townsmen fire from alleys tight with shadows. Isaiah's carbine cracks steady from the church rail, each shot neat as fence posts in a row. A rider topples near the livery, horse bolting empty-saddled through the yard gate. The rest scatter fast under the sudden roar of rifles from rooftops where marshals climb for high ground. 2 men drop near the trough. Another limps west, clutching an arm dark with blood. When smoke clears, 5 riders lie in dust. 3 flee hard for the ridges, and the rest groan under rifle barrels where marshals yank pistols from shaking hands. Zeke sits his black gelding center square, rifle across his lap, eyes on the west road fading under nightfall. "Any more coming?" Briggs asks, voice tight. Zeke shakes his head slow. That was all they had left. The town exhales as torches flare along the boardwalks, casting long shadows over bodies carried toward the jail wagons waiting for morning. Dawn breaks clear over Dry Creek, sunlight spilling across rooftops still scarred from gunfire. The air smells of dust, spent powder, and wood smoke drifting from chimneys where breakfast fires crackle for the first calm meal in weeks. Zeke stands on the boardwalk outside the courthouse, hat low, watching prison wagons creak toward the rail spur. Shackled deputies, councilmen, and the last of Sutter's gun hands stare sullen from barred windows as marshals ride alongside. Judge Deaton sits pale among them, hands twisting his hat brim till sweat darkens the felt. Marshal Captain Briggs gives the signal, and the wagons lurch east toward the main line where a train waits to haul corruption north for sentencing. Folks line the streets silent, watching the convoy roll out beneath a sky scrubbed clean by wind. When the dust settles, Briggs turns to Zeke. Town council elects new seats come Monday. Schools, wells, grazing rights, all back under the people now. Zeke nods once. See, they keep it that way. Briggs studies him. You staying to help? Zeke shakes his head. I ride better where law don't ask favors. Across the street, Naomi talks with women carrying ledgers of their own now. School funds, water rights, grain purchases from Sutter's seized accounts. Caleb sits on the wagon rail kicking his heels, face brighter than Zeke's seen since before the first shots fired. Isaiah joins him on the boardwalk, cup of coffee steaming in his hand. Hawk says riders talk about heading south once things settle. Maybe Mexico, maybe the territories. Let 'em, Zeke says. Work's done here. Isaiah eyes him sidelong. You leaving too? Zeke doesn't answer right off. He watches townsmen raise new timbers where the bridge once stood, hammer blows ringing like church bells across the valley. He sees children chasing each other past the freight platform where Sutter made his last stand. He hears laughter rolling through streets that only held gun smoke 2 days ago. Yeah, Zeke says finally. I came for one thing, Books done, laws riding high, folks breathing free again. Time I ride where my name don't carry weight. Isaiah nods slow, like he knew before asking. Hawk limps up then, bandage fresh but eyes clearer than yesterday. Town wants a speech, he says to Zeke. Hero talk before you go. Zeke almost smiles. Hero's a word folks use when they forget the mess came first. Still, he steps into the square where people gather among wagons stacked with supplies bought by Sutter's silver. Naomi stands near the front, Caleb at her side, both watching quiet. Zeke lifts his hat so all see his face. Ledger showed who sold this county, he says, voice carrying steady. Names read loud so nobody forgets what greed buys when good men look away. Murmurs ripple like wind through wheat. You built this town before Sutter, Zeke says. Build it again without men like him owning your water, your votes, your voices. Law comes from folks standing together, not from gold stacked in one man's vault. Cheers answer this time, sharp and long. Women wave hats. Ranchers slap rifle stocks against wagon rails. Zeke tips his hat once, then turns before words stretch too long. He climbs into the saddle of his black gelding where Isaiah and Hawk wait mounted beside him. Naomi steps forward, Caleb clutching her skirt. You could stay, she says. Zeke meets her eyes. You don't need me for what comes next. She nods slow, though something unspoken lingers like dust after hooves pass. Caleb waves small but fierce as Zeke swings the horse toward the south road. Isaiah rides left, Hawk right, the three of them silhouettes against morning sun. At the ridge above town, Zeke reins in once, looking back. Dry Creek spreads below, rooftops bright, smoke rising straight, streets alive with hammer blows and laughter where gunfire ruled yesterday. Place'll hold? Hawk asks. Zeke nods. Long as folks remember names in that book. They ride south then, hooves drumming steady toward open country where law and legend blur under the same wide sky. Behind them, Dry Creek wakes to a new day, free and loud, a town carrying scars enough to stay honest a while.